I think
we're just actually heartbroken that you didn't do better.
Yeah.
I can understand
that.
Trump's
Thank
where
you.
he's at.
Yeah.
But for you to be dead last behind Dick Cheney and Hills,
I know,
and
in
for
that
her
last-
to come out and say stuff like she advocates for parents having the option for the transgender surgeries for
Oh
their
my gosh,
kids.
this woman is Hillary Clinton 2.0. I mean, this woman is Dick Cheney. Actually, I meant what I said.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
she wants to
absolutely
fight
right,
foreign
yeah.
wars, keep the foreign war machine humming, use our taxpayer money, fork it over to Ukraine, cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut veterans benefits here at home. And by the way, a domestic surveillance state such that if somebody's using a social media account to watch this conversation, they have to tie their driver's license to watch it.
Yeah.
That's Jack Smith, Joe Biden stuff right there. So I don't know if that's Jack Smith, Joe Biden. It's Nikki Haley. I don't care. I'm against it. Just because you put a little R after your name doesn't change my opinion of what you had to say. I'm going to judge it based on the content of what you actually said. All that being said, for me, if you look over the last year, though, you had a former vice president of the United States. You had multiple U.S. senators and governors, et cetera, who people knew. For me, people are laughing at the idea of a 38-year-old guy who has zero political history running for U.S. president. You know what? I ended up getting fourth in a process where, in the beginning, people wouldn't have even included me in the top list of 20 people who were running for U.S. president. So I think it's a testament less to me and more to still the openness of this country. Right? I mean, my parents came here 40 years ago with no money. They would have been happy. They would have been over the moon if I became a doctor and had a steady career.
Right, yeah.
I founded multi-billion-dollar companies at the age of 38, be able to run for U.S. president without an iota of political history, beating out by handily former vice presidents to U.S. senators to current sitting governors. That's, I think, actually a testament to this country that says, you know what, we are so sick and tired of what we've been force-fed that if somebody else new comes along, for all the people that didn't give me a shot, there were still millions of people who did across this country.
And see, that's another criticism people have of you're not real. That's the realest shit I've heard. Because I'm over here trying to victimize you. You didn't get the votes because you're brown. But you still have that mindset that this is a great country. It's just a longer process for you.
I don't think the brown actually had, I would tell you if I thought it had something to do with it. I don't think the brown had anything to do with it. The Hindu has a little bit to do with it, but it's more
the religious.
If I had to pick between the two, that's definitely the one.
Right.
But it's more the total package of, I'm different in a lot of ways, right? People haven't heard of you. I have no political background, different faith, difficult to pronounce name. Actually, that's a big one in the polling, too, because the way a lot of the polls work. So one of the things you saw in our campaign is people who figure out, who do the online polls. Now, those are also biased towards people who, consume digital content. We tend to do better in those than the ones where the people actually have to respond back and say my name. Because even the people asking the polling questions often can't pronounce my name. So there's just a lot of, everybody's unique and everybody's different.
Right.
And there's a fake way to do this, which is to say, okay, sanitize all of that, make your name more pronounceable, pretend to be Christian. We don't need to do any of that. All we need is some honesty in this country.
Right.
And I'm not going anywhere. We wanted, I expect to be the president.
Let's be honest for a second. Do you think diversity is a weakness of the Republican Party?
You mean just like normal kind of diversity?
Yeah.
I don't
more
think
people
so
like
right
you,
now.
more black people.
You take a look at like the Ben Carsons to the Byron Donaldses of the world to now people like myself in this. Even Nikki Haley, say what you will. The only thing you could say about her that's true in this conversation is she wears it on her sleeve all the time, is a woman of color. So
but she looks white.
Yeah, I know,
to a person of color like a black guy, she looks white.
It's really funny that she would say she was the way she was growing up in South Carolina. Right. I don't believe that anybody actually would have actually mistaken. You never tell them for them to be able to treat you any differently.
Right.
I think the deeper problem in the Republican Party is an ideological one, where it's kind of just become a label that doesn't mean anything. So if you have people in the same party, take the most important questions we face right now. Should we or should we not be marching our way to take the risk of World War III to arm Ukraine to the teeth, using our own military and money to do it? That's one of the most important questions of our time.
Right.
You have most of the Republican Party agreeing with most of the Democratic Party on that question. Take the question of whether or not you believe that the FBI or the CIA or the NSA should be allowed to spy on most Americans in the name of national security. Again, you have most Republicans that push come to shove agree with most Democrats on this issue. So I think the real problem with the Republican Party is we just got to define who we are and what we actually stand for. Like this word doesn't mean anything. I don't have a ton of interest in Republican Party politics. It's meaningless, right? It's just an amalgam of people who have put a little R after their name versus saying, okay, this is who we are and what we actually stand for. I got John Fetterman in recent days sounding like he's maybe tougher on the border than Nikki Haley is, right?
Right.
And so I don't care what letter comes after your name. And by the way, on that one, I saw my background was in science. I would say that every neurologist in the country needs to study what happened in that man's brain.
Right. Yeah.
Because whatever it is, there's a miracle
Yeah,
that
that's
is
a
played out in
miracle.
plain sight. And so if that means
Right.
every Democrat has to wear a hoodie and there is allowed to wear a hoodie in the Senate, I'm all in favor of that if that's what
Right.
it takes.
He's making a miraculous recovery.
Yes, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
It's really, he's making far more sense than Nikki Haley or Lindsey Graham or
Exactly.
Karl Rove or Dick Cheney.
Right.
Yeah.